Parashuraman. Welcome to Pod Universal Show.
Good morning.
Now, recent hanging of Afzal Guru has become a big debatable issue on televisions. Now, the human rights activists are claim that the judgment of the Supreme Court in 2005, it is not in order. They cite mainly three reasons. One is the accused Afzal Guru was not given a legal assistance properly during trial. Number two, the judgment was based on circumstantial evidence. Number three, the capital punishment was given based on a collective consciousness. Are they justified in saying that Supreme Court judgment is not in order?
The human rights activists at this juncture, after the judgment has been pronounced and much water has flown under the bridge, after 7 years of the Supreme Court judgment has been pronounced, and after dismissal of the review petition filed by Afzal Guru, also now at this juncture it may not be proper for human rights activists to assign the judgment of the Supreme Court. Firstly, their first ground of attack, according to you, is that he has not been provided with proper legal assistance.
That's what they say.
Yeah, but in my view, that if at all the human rights activists now they feel that Afzal Guru has not been provided with proper legal assistance, although state has got a bounden duty to provide legal assistance, no doubt, and it has provided also in this case, the human right is always open to the human rights activists also to have taken up this case, and if they had felt at that point of time that the state has not provided adequate safeguard or adequate legal assistance, they could have done that instead of finding fault with the government at this juncture. That is, the human rights activists themselves could have taken up the case, like in Ram Jethmalani, senior advocate of Supreme Court, Mr. Ram Jethmalani appeared in Supreme Court for the accused, and several other senior advocates also have appeared in Supreme Court. Well, it is so, to blame the government for that may not be proper. That is the first issue. Now, as far as the second aspect is concerned, that is, the evidence is only circumstantial as against Afzal Guru. I think it is a flawed notion, because it is what is alleged against Afzal Guru is conspiracy. It is the Supreme Court as well as other high courts have time and again has held. Conspiracy is not done with eyewitnesses, with evidences. Conspiracy is always hatched in a closed circuit within few persons only, and it is in a dark background only it is being done. That is, conspiracy cannot be proved beyond reasonable doubt. This is the fundamental principle of law. Conspiracy always can be proved only with circumstantial evidence or the links. Only links can be proved in a conspiracy. A conspiracy cannot be proved beyond reasonable doubt, like having an eyewitness or a documentary evidence to prove a conspiracy. Conspiracy is always hatched in darkness, and it is very difficult to prove a conspiracy. And these type of sensitive cases, where offense is being conducted, where offense is against the interest of a nation, it's like waging a war against the nation. Attacking the parliament is waging a war against the nation. It is attacking the heart of democratic system of a country. Now, in these situations, you cannot expect that there should be beyond reasonable doubt proof required for proving the conspiracy. So, I think the theory propounded by the activists, like I saw in the Hindu also, Arundhati Roy writing about the Afzal Guru's case, she says that the evidence is not sufficient and they have cooked up a case and fixed up Afzal Guru, may not be proper at this juncture. That too, in several courts, like a special court has gone into it, the High Court has gone into it, the Supreme Court has gone into it, a review has taken place, and best legal brains, sharp legal brains have helped up the defense also in all these cases. In such a situation, to do a post-mortem about the decision of the Supreme Court may not be proper. And finally, with regard to the third aspect you said is about the collective consciousness of the society has put pressure on the judicial mind to come to a conclusion about this case. I think that may not be correct. If that be the case, collective consciousness is reflected by the representative of the public in the assembly or in the Lok Sabha, in the parliament. The parliament has always said that whenever a murder or a crime of this nature taking away the life of another person takes place, the punishment is death punishment. That is the law. So the court always goes by law. And the court sees that this kind of crimes where it is not a mere crime which can be confined to Indian Penal Code alone, where several other offences like Prevention of Terrorism Act, Explosive Act, and all when these kind of several acts have been involved. So the court has to necessarily take note of the gravity of the crime while imposing the punishment. So it is not mere collective consciousness of the people which influences the court. It is not the popularity or the notoriety of the crime which matters to the court. It goes according to what is available on record. And if they feel that the crime committed by the accused is heinous crime and the gravity of the offence warrants a death penalty, and naturally the court will come to that conclusion only. So the theory of collective consciousness propounded, like what they say is it is the will of the people, that is the opinion of the people would have influenced the court, and that is the reason why the court has given a death punishment. In my view, it's not correct. And another point to be considered is, look into the track record of punishments given by the court as far as the death punishment is concerned. This is one of the rarest of rare cases. These cases cannot be compared to the ordinary crime, that is the crime which is committed by an individual against another individual by way of murder, and other things cannot be, and have property, murders taken because of property dispute or lust or sexual offences. That cannot be compared to this case. This is a case where a sovereignty of the nation has been attacked. This kind of crime, sovereignty of and integrity of India. And when our country is surrounded by hostile neighbors, naturally the court has to take into consideration whether the offence committed by the perpetrator of crime can be treated as a similar crime to that of a murder. So in this situation, only the court has come to the conclusion, probably if you read the judgment, they would have quoted extensively from English law as to what is the difference between a murder and a crime against the sovereignty. And once you look into this issue that the crime against the sovereignty cannot be lightly treated as a crime against an individual. So taking into this consideration, all these factors into consideration, only the Supreme Court has come to the conclusion that although Sir Afzal Guru was not directly involved in shooting or planting a bomb or whatever it is, he has been a mastermind behind this crime, and therefore he should be punished. This is one of the rarest of rare cases where a person is not actually directly involved in the crime by way of shooting or something like that, where the Supreme Court has come to the conclusion even a person who is conspired for committing this crime should be punished.
Sitharaman, is it that delay caused in the execution of this judgment, because the judgment was given in 2005 and the execution was done in 2013 February, is it because of the delay such debates are going on?
If you see the track record of death punishments and other things, see it is, if you see Abdul Kalam, our president, has only given permission for only one person to be by rejecting his mercy petition. Previous president, she has never disallowed any mercy petition, and during her tenure, no hanging had taken place. Now, you see, this is what is again an individual's perception about this. Our former president Abdul Kalam was not very keen on this death punishment. Probably he is a more human rights oriented person and he wouldn't like that. So it is because of that the delay would have been caused. And this delay, actually it is more political issue. That is what is like, if you find now, the BJP would say that there is an extraordinary delay in implementing this punishment, whereas other parties may not make a big issue of this delay. But I think this is a natural process and it is a very difficult decision to be taken, and there are a lot of opportunities being given. Even the president's rejection of mercy petition is being questioned in the court, like what has happened in the case of Rajiv Gandhi killers. Now still it is going on. Petitions are pending in court, as rightly observed by the Home Minister. Like unless the petitions are not pending, that they cannot immediately execute.
But in the terrorism, the lot of human lives, innocent lives are lost, and there are economic issues because we lose a lot of economic things. Even in the parliament attack case, India and Pakistan went to the extent of brink of war also. Everybody moved their soldiers because there were a lot of ramifications in the terrorism activity.
That is the reason why Supreme Court has awarded death punishment in this case. They found that although Afzal Guru was not directly involved in the shooting where 5 persons have died and several soldiers have died, here this person has been the cause for perpetrating this crime by conspiring with others. And that is the reason why where the several innocent lives were lost, where it is like a waging war on another country. Like where several lives were lost, where so much of economic loss has taken place, and which will result in various kind of strain and stress amongst the society, religion, and all those things. Taking into consideration of all these factors only, they have distinguished. The Supreme Court, if you have gone through the judgment, they have distinguished between an ordinary murder committed for gain and the murder which is against the sovereignty of the country. The killing which has taken place, which has taken place affecting the sovereignty of the country. There is a vast difference. That is why they say it is not a mere case of murder alone. It is a case of treason.
Thank you, Mr. Sethuraman, for your wonderful explanation, and thanks for sparing your time for parting our session.
Thank you for giving me that opportunity.